Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji Sales Live Chat. It's so good to be back. It's so good to see everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you are all doing absolutely fantastic. I hope you're doing amazing. I hope you are doing incredible. I'm feeling pretty darn good today, y'all. So, what can we talk about today? There is a few topics. First of all, we got the Microsoft earnings. They are out, which means that we got a little bit of info. Not a ton, but we got a little soft. And I'll be honest, not a great quarter. Not a great quarter for Xbox. So we're going to go into that. I'll break it all down for you here in just a second. We also got the announcement from Sony today that PlayStation 5 has now sold through 40 million units. That's not shipped, that's sell through. And it continues to do pretty darn great. Now, we don't have the full earnings from Sony yet. The full earnings for PlayStation, we're going to get that here pretty soon. But they did come out ahead of time and announce PlayStation 5 has sold through 40 million. We can talk about that if you guys want to. A couple other topics off the top. One interesting one is that Sea of Stars, which isn't a huge game, right? This is more of like an indie-sized game. It has become the very first game ever that's going to launch day one on both Game Pass and PlayStation Plus games catalog. We can talk about that if you guys want, if that might be a trend that we see in the future, if this is just a rare exception. Trying to think if there's any other really big news topics that have broken. Not a ton else. Barbenheimer's doing absolutely insane at the box office, though I know this is mostly a video game chat. Barbie looks locked in for $1 billion now. Absolutely insane result. And yeah, so we can talk about whatever you guys want to. Today's going to be a good day. Now, really quick, just to go over those Xbox earnings, well, I should say gaming in general. It's not just Xbox, but obviously Xbox is going to be a big part of this. Let me pull that up. So basically the little bit of info we got, it wasn't a ton, but it was a little bit. Gaming revenue grew 1%, pretty small increase there. Xbox content and services grew by 5%. Xbox Game Pass saw growth, which they continue to note on basically every quarter, and Xbox hardware revenue declined by a whopping 13%. Microsoft did outright say, Amy Hood outright said that gaming missed expectations for the quarter. It was below what they were expecting. And maybe the biggest surprise to me out of all this was their forecast for next quarter. So well, I should say it's next quarter, but it's actually the current quarter that we're in right now. The big surprise here for me is that they're forecasting very small growth. They're forecasting basically like single-digit percentage growth year over year, and this is going to include the Starfield launch. And keep in mind, Starfield doesn't launch. It's not like it comes out like the very end of the quarter. Like there's 3 days of tracking. It comes out at the beginning of September. So essentially a full month of Starfield is going to be included here. I am surprised at how low the growth forecast is, because I am expecting, and I think many of you are expecting, Starfield to be absolutely gigantic. So that's a bit of a surprise for them to be a little cautious here. I have two minds of what that could be. Two minds. One of it could be, hey, we just missed our forecast, right? They literally just came in below expectations. So maybe they're just being cautious. Maybe internally they think, hey, there's a good chance we're going to beat these numbers, but considering we just had a miss, let's be really cautious here and not come out with a big forecast. So maybe there's that. That could be one potential outcome here. The other one that I think is maybe an outcome is maybe they think July and August are going to be really bad, right? Maybe they think July and August are going to be super underwhelming results. Because keep in mind, this is a 3-month quarter. It's going to have July, August, and September. So maybe they think July and August for us is going to be really rough. Hardware is going to be very bad. Software is going to be very bad. And we are expecting a big September, but we think that July and August will kind of offset that big September. You know what I mean? Maybe they just think July and August are going to be that bad that even though they'll have a really, really good September when Starfield launches, it's going to impede their overall growth because 2 of those months are going to be rough. Those are the two thought processes I have behind why this forecast would be so low. There's also the third option, which is the one that I, again, disagree with. We've talked about this a ton. But Phil Spencer has kind of stated that he believes that they can't have huge hardware growth off of the back of big flagship games. And as you guys know, I made a whole video about it. I fundamentally disagree with that notion. So it could just be a continuation of that thought process. Maybe they think, hey, Starfield's going to be really big, but we don't think it's going to move a lot of consoles. Again, I fundamentally disagree. I think if Starfield comes out here and it's a high 80s or maybe even 90s Metacritic, I think they're going to sell a ton of Xbox Series consoles. So again, maybe Phil's right. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But those are kind of the options around that forecast, but it is a surprise. A lot of people I talked to in the sales community were a bit surprised by that forecast because a lot of us think that Starfield's going to be a big hit. So pretty interesting there. We'll have to see what happens. And that'll get us to our first poll. Let's do a first poll right off the bat. And I'm going to ask, will Microsoft beat their gaming forecast for Starfield quarter? What do you guys think? Will they beat it? We'll say yes, they are being too conservative. We'll say no, they'll come in at forecast. We'll say no, they'll come in under forecast, so you think they'll miss. And then we'll say maybe it all depends on Starfield quality. Okay, so here's the poll I'm running for you guys right now. Will Microsoft beat their gaming forecast for Starfield quarter? These are your options. And remember, just to keep you reminded, they're expecting overall small single-digit percentage growth. So they didn't even forecast like 10%, 11%, 12%. We're talking single digits here. We're talking 4, 5, 6%, somewhere around there. We're saying, will Microsoft beat their forecast for the Starfield quarter? Yes, they are being too conservative. No, they're going to just basically come in right at what they're expecting, or no, they'll come in under what they're expecting, or maybe it depends on the quality of Starfield. All right, poll should be in the chat. All right, guys, let's start getting into your comments and questions. I'm really excited. I'm in a great mood today, guys. Right now, I'm like, you guys know I've been having like all this like anxiety and depression and stuff. Right now, I'm feeling like that John Wick gif that you see all the time. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. That's where I'm at right now, baby. I'm thinking I'm back. All right, let's go. All right, so if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, the way it works, it's a stream, it's a show, it's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions. We talk about the latest news in the video game industry. There's going to be a few ways to do that. First of all, of course, there is the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want, down into chat, and I get to as many free questions as I possibly can every single stream. If you want to guarantee that I get to your comment or question, there's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there is the super chat method. You just type a donation, whatever you want, it pops into chat, and I get to super chats immediately. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, but you don't want to do a super chat, the other best way is going to be by becoming a channel member. You just click join right down there on the bottom. You become a channel member. It costs $4.99 a month, and basically the benefit to you as a channel member is that I guarantee that every single channel member gets at least one question answered every single stream. So if I do 4 streams a month, which is usually the plan, you're guaranteed at minimum 4 questions or comments highlighted on the stream. And oftentimes I have room to get to more than that for channel members, but I guarantee you at least one. Really quick, also, I want to say a big thank you to all the channel members. You know, I don't want to, I know talking about money and stuff's taboo. I don't make a ton of money off of YouTube, but the one thing I will say, outside of that month that I took off where I was so depressed and I couldn't even stream, I've seen a lift in my payouts from YouTube. The channel memberships have really helped. So I want to say a sincere thank you to every single channel member, because it really has made a difference in how much I'm earning on YouTube. So thank you so much, guys. I greatly appreciate every single person that becomes a channel member. All right, let's get into your guys' stuff. All right, let's go. First, we're going to hit those channel members. MD is saying Benji Sales live chat. Let's go. It's great to see you, MD. I love seeing you every single stream, every single chat. You're one of the most positive members of this community. You're the man, MD. Split End 89, great friend of mine, helps mod the channel. Check out his work at Gaming Trend, saying, Benji, you demand, bro. Can't believe we're less than 3 months from Alan Wake 2, buddy. I can't believe it either. I've been waiting so freaking long to play this game. It's a game that I literally never thought would happen. You know, obviously at one point I thought it might, back whenever this game first came out, but then 10 years went by, and I was like, I mean, I know they announced it before 10 years. It was probably like 8 or 9 years when they announced it. But I thought it was over, man. I thought it was over. It had been so long. I was just like, I don't know. I think that it's over. And if you've never played Alan Wake 1, it ends on a massive cliffhanger, which I won't spoil for you, but it is a ginormous cliffhanger. And I just thought I would never get to see what happened to Alan's story. And it's finally almost here. I cannot wait. 10 out of 10 hype, buddy. Cannot wait. We got Timmer72299 here dropping a 20 super chat. Holy cow, Timmer. That is incredibly generous, my friend. You do not have to do that. I very, very, very much appreciate that, buddy. That's incredibly generous. Saying, hi, Benji. The Pokemon Company made $11.6 billion in merch sales last year, according to Licensed Global Magazine. For reference, the Pokemon franchise made $10 billion in revenue between 1996 and 2001. What are your thoughts? That's absolutely insane. I did not see that statistic. It wouldn't shock me because Pokemon just continues to become an utter behemoth. I've talked about this before. It is shocking how much the staying power of Pokemon is, because Pokemon was popular when I was a kid, right? When I was a child. And now I have a child, and it is still as popular, if not more popular, than it has ever been. It's an absolutely staggering achievement that they've been able to keep Pokemon so viable and so healthy of a brand for decades now, literally decades. You know how rare that is? There's all sorts of big hits that are around for a few years and then they fizzle out, or, you know, there's a huge gap. Like, you know, it's super popular for a little while, then it disappears for 15 or 20 years, and then they reboot it. Pokemon has literally never went away. It has released games consistently. It has released animes consistently. The merch continues to be incredibly popular. It is literally one of the most impressive things that has ever happened in the video game industry. I know Pokemon's way beyond just video games, but there's zero question that a huge driver of the popularity of Pokemon is the games. But not only is it one of the most impressive things that has ever happened in the video game industry, it's one of the most impressive things that's ever happened in entertainment, period. It's one of the strongest brands there is in all of entertainment. Absolutely shocking, absolutely staggering. I haven't seen the stat myself, but Timmer, you do great work, so I 100% believe you're correct on this. It's incredible, and I'll be perfectly frank, I don't see Pokemon slowing down anytime soon. I think Pokemon's going to be a massive behemoth beast for another 20, 30, maybe even longer years. There's just no indication it's slowing down at all. So, absolutely incredible. Great pull up, Timmer, and thank you for the super chat, buddy. All right. JCat's in the chat. What is up, JCat? I'm going to answer JCat's question here because JCat helps mod the channel. JCat saying, I think Pikmin deserves to be in your thumbnail too, because it just sold 402,000 in Japan. Biggest debut ever for the franchise. Yeah, it's an absolute beast. I thought about including it, but I'm just going to be honest, for my community, the people that follow me, I think they'll be more interested in the PlayStation and Xbox performances, but there is no doubt about it that the Pikmin sales are absolutely bonkers insane. They're absolutely incredible. So to highlight what JCat's talking about here, the physical sales alone are over 400,000, and it is already literally, I believe if I saw the statistic correctly, its launch sales were bigger than Pikmin 1, 2, and 3's launches combined. You combined all 3 of the previous Pikmin games, and the launch for Pikmin 4 is bigger than all 4 of those. And I believe I saw an estimate that if you include digital, which we don't have the raw digital numbers, but the assumption around what it would sell digital, that it is already the second best-selling Pikmin game lifetime in Japan after 1 weekend. Absolutely insane performance. Absolutely crazy. This is clearly going to be the biggest Pikmin game of all time, not even just counting Japan. I expect it to have the biggest launch ever in the West for the franchise as well. You know, we won't see the true numbers because you're going to see some physical charts pop up and they're going to say, oh, it did this, it did that. Japan's not digital's not included in any chart for Nintendo. They don't provide it to the UK sales trackers. They don't provide it to the Europe sales trackers. They don't provide it to the US sales trackers. So a huge chunk of Pikmin's sales are going to be completely missing in these physical charts. It's absolutely incredible. It's an absolutely incredible result, a stunning result. It actually, I believe, has already outsold Final Fantasy 16 in Japan. Crazy. Just absolutely crazy. It is a truly nutty performance. Spot on, JCat. And it is definitely worth highlighting. Absolutely. All right. Has every channel... Nope. Here is a channel member question. Joseki. Whoop, where did it go? There you go. Joseki saying, Benji, I cracked the code for Final Fantasy in Japan. Just make a Pikmin-style spin-off. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I wonder what the answer is on, really revitalizing Final Fantasy in Japan. It's not that Final Fantasy doesn't sell anything in Japan. It's still definitely a big game, but it's not near, what we saw at its absolute heights for Final Fantasy. I truly don't know what the answer is. 16 being such an action-heavy game, really is the goal is to appeal, I think, a lot to the West there. I wonder if a more traditional Final Fantasy would do a lot better in Japan. I don't know. I truly don't know the answer to that. We're gonna have to see. I'm very curious. This is way looking forward. I wonder if Final Fantasy 17. Yeah, that sounds crazy to say that we're already up to Final Fantasy 17. But I wonder if Final Fantasy 17 is going to continue this action style of 16, or if they're going to try and revert to a way more traditional style. I don't know. I literally could not tell you what direction they're going to go on that. I'm open for either. I really loved 16. I did miss some of the deeper RPG elements of 16. For example, the side quests are just bad. It's just really, really bad how bad the side quests are in that game. And, like the depth to some of the character customization's not there, not being able to control different party members. There's a lot of stuff that I did miss, but then there's some stuff I absolutely loved. The boss fights were just some of the most epic things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't think you could do that in a more traditional style Final Fantasy. I won't spoil them, but the way they play out, that can kind of only happen in an action style game. So I'm curious. I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is going to be. But it is crazy that Pikmin's bigger than Final Fantasy in Japan. Who would have guessed? I mean, I'm sure maybe some people guessed leading into Pikmin 4 and Final Fantasy 16. But if you went back 10 years ago and were like, hey, by the way, Pikmin's going to become a bigger franchise in Japan than Final Fantasy is, I think you'd be laughed out of the room. And then Highlander's in the chat just saying, hey, but that's not going to count as a channel member question because he's just saying hi to some people. Okay, so all channel members have had at least one question answered, and all super chats have been hit because we've just had the one. So let's hit some free questions. Logan Hardy's coming in here saying, hello, Benji. Phil said games like Starfield don't sell consoles, so how many consoles do you think Spider-Man 2 will sell and destroy that theory? A ton. An absolute ton. I've been very, very clear. I fundamentally disagree with Phil Spencer's thought process on that one. Again, that's not a shot at Phil Spencer. I super respect Phil Spencer. I think overall he does a fantastic job at gaming. So I always have to preface that because I know Phil Spencer comes under a lot of heat. Any leader of any gaming division is going to. Jim Ryan gets a ton of heat too. So I want to be very clear every time this topic comes up. It's not me taking shots at Phil. I think Phil is an excellent leader. I think overall he's doing great. It's just that particular thought process, we just ain't on the same page. I don't agree at all. I don't think there's actually any data that points to back that up. You guys know I'm a data person. I have not ever seen a single piece of data that says big first-party games don't sell platforms. Still, I've never seen it. You can make the argument, like Phil does, that it was really, they couldn't have lost the Xbox One generation and now they're screwed. I just don't agree, man. I just don't agree with that at all. I think it's fundamentally a wrong way to look at it. So Spider-Man 2 is going to sell an absolute ton of PlayStation 5s. There's quite literally zero question about it. So it's going to be huge, absolutely huge, Logan Hardy. And I suspect, to put this back into the Xbox position, I suspect Starfield's going to do the same thing for Xbox as long as it's good. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I just don't agree, man. I don't agree. It comes up all the time, and I just do not agree with it. Don't think it's accurate. Red Dead series saying, Benji, did you hear about the Red Dead remaster news? Great to see a Red Dead series. I did. I have a feeling this is a full-on remake. I know people keep calling it a remaster, but I have a feeling it's not a remaster. I have a feeling it's a remake. The main reason why I think it's a true remake is because, from what I understand, the main reason you've never seen Red Dead Redemption 2 get an official like Steam PC release, right? It's not on Steam, correct? I think it's only able to be emulated. Correct? Unless I'm crazy. Correct, yes. Only Red Dead Redemption 2 is on Steam. From what I understand, the main reason you've never seen Red Dead Redemption 2 get like a true current gen remaster or a true PC Steam release is that the code is completely busted. That is what I understand. That is what has been rumored and reported for years, is that the original code for Red Dead Redemption 1 is trash. And I know that sounds a little mean to say, but that is all the rumblings. The code itself, the way they made that game, the way it's coded, it is not good. I have a feeling that this is a full-on remake, and I have a feeling the main reason they are remaking it is to give it a true PC release. I'm sure that they're going to be stoked about selling tons of copies on consoles. They're going to sell a ton of copies on consoles, but I have the main reason I think this exists is to get a high-quality PC version that they can sell millions and millions and millions of copies of for years. So I did see it. I do believe it's true. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just a remaster, but I personally fall in the camp that I think this is going to be a full-on remake. Player slot available. Here's a dystopian topic for you. Square Enix, Sega, and Konami shows that they are confident in NFTs and crypto. Well, that's a lost cause. By being one of the main presented at Japan's Web3 Game Summit. Waste of time. Do you think Square Enix, Sega, and Konami will waste money and development type on feudal NFT projects? It is a complete waste of time and money. Now, crypto, listen, I'm not invested in crypto at all. If someone wants to be into crypto, I'm not as like bullish that like crypto in general is necessarily a waste of time. I want to be clear on that. I think there's definitely some debate. Like, it could be a great investment thing that becomes huge over time. We've seen at times Bitcoin soar super, super high. So I'm not going to necessarily write off crypto in general, but NFTs will never, it's not going to happen, right? It's like that Mean Girls thing that you see. Stop trying to make NFTs happen. It's not. I'm just being real. It's never gonna happen. So that's a complete waste of time. I would not invest a single penny. I would not invest a single dollar into NFTs. So crypto, maybe. We'll have to see. But NFT long term is an utter waste of time. Utter waste of time. Cameron Swear, Benji, looks like I got my... And again, if someone else wants to invest in NFTs, listen, I always try to be very clear in everything I say. I don't tell anyone else how to live their lives, right? Who cares? All of us are going to live our lives however we're going to want to. I don't want to control anyone. I don't want to tell you what to think. I don't want to tell you what to do. Who am I to tell you any of those things? I'm just a random guy, right? You guys, we have a relationship. I feel like I know so many of you because I see you all the time, but it's not like I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. You know what I mean? You guys listen. So I try to be clear on that. If one of you wants to invest tons of money into NFTs, more power to you. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. But me, I will never spend $1 on an NFT. And I do think it's a complete waste of time for any video game company to be wasting resources on NFTs. Cameron Swear, Benji, looks like I got my answer on Pikmin versus Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, yes, you did. You asked that last chat. What are your expectations for Nintendo's financial quarter? I expect them to do very, very well. Tears of the Kingdom is going to have utterly insane sales. I have no idea where to even project where that's going to land because it's going to be colossal. I literally don't know. Once you start getting into numbers that big, it's hard to nail it down because it could shift by millions. Like, who knows? Other than it's going to be utterly gigantic quarter still for Tears of the Kingdom. I expect that to be just massive. I expect software sales in general to be utterly massive. I expect digital sales for them to continue to grow and to continue to be super healthy. I do think you will see a decline in hardware, but not a massive decline. I think they're going to have just a slow decline on hardware. And overall, super positive results. Overall, I think it's going to be very, very, very strong quarter. The only thing you would look at and be like maybe declines would be hardware. And again, I think that's going to be such a small decline for so late in the cycle that it's actually still good news, right? You would expect hardware to be declining here. I'm not expecting any sort of sharp drop off, just a little bit of a decline. And that's actually good news. Game Fire here saying, hey, Benji, Xbox has said always judge them by content and services, and that grew 5%, which is pretty good, and engagement is high. That's certainly one way to phrase it. Listen, here's just the literal truth. Amy Hood, who is the financial person at Microsoft, literally said, direct quote, gaming missed our expectations. That's just the truth. So there's no other way to look at it other than it missed expectations. Now, do I think this is a calamitous quarter and Xbox is doomed? Not at all, because like I just said, I think they're going to actually beat their expectations next quarter. But this wasn't a good quarter. Anytime that they literally say on the earnings call that gaming missed their expectations, it's not a good quarter, right? If you're missing expectations, that's not good. So it was not a strong quarter at all. It wasn't a calamitous quarter. It was more just close to stagnant. Hardware continues to decline. I think we know for sure now that Xbox Series X and S are no longer the fastest selling Xboxes ever because they haven't said it in a very long time. It's been more than a year since they mentioned it was the fastest selling, so it has now fallen behind previous Xbox consoles. Now we know that Xbox is about a lot more than just hardware sales. So that's why it's not full doom and gloom, right? It's down by 13% on hardware revenue. That's not great. However, they continue to expand in other areas, so you can't fully judge them just based on hardware. But Amy Hood flat out said it missed expectations for the quarter, so it's not a good quarter. Not the end of the world. Let's see how this next quarter is. If it goes how I suspect, where they're going to beat their hardware forecast, they're going to beat their content and services forecast, I think their overall revenue, I think they're going to beat it all, because I personally believe Starfield, if its quality is going to massively drive all of those factors, then we're going to be having a much more positive conversation on their next quarter. But this one wasn't great. That's just the reality. It wasn't great. But it's not doom. I would not doom Xbox at all. They're still doing tons and tons of revenue and stuff. It's just, it wasn't a great quarter. I think we just had something incredibly generous from Highlander. We did. Holy cow, guys. Everyone give a big thank you to Highlander. Highlander giving back to the community. Highlander gifted 5 memberships. 5 memberships. That means 5 of you just got full month memberships thanks to Highlander. That's incredibly kind of you, Highlander. Bomangi got a gifted membership. Captain Crunch got a gifted membership. Leonard Herrera got a gifted membership. Carlos Morera got a gifted membership. And Jose got a gifted membership. That is awesome. That means every one of you guys are now channel members for a full month. You all get guaranteed questions or comments highlighted on the stream, every stream for the next month. Shout out to Highlander. First of all, thank you for giving back to the community. That's absolutely awesome, Highlander. And thank you for your support, buddy. That's super awesome of you, man. All right. Duquesta. Will you be pre-ordering the Spider-Man 2 PS5 cover plates or controller tomorrow? I know I will, LOL. Duquesta, I am planning on pre-ordering both the custom plates and the controller, but we'll see how it goes. Because I made a tweet about this. If Sony's going to continue to make things exclusive to PlayStation Direct, they have got to improve that website. It was an absolute crap show with what happened with the Spider-Man 2 Collector's Edition. Now, I eventually actually got the Spider-Man 2 Collector's Edition. I have it pre-ordered. But anyone who was like trying to queue that day to get these things pre-ordered, it was an absolute nightmare. And if they're going to continue to make this, and when I say nightmare, not that they sold out instantly, it's that the website was just constantly crashing. Constantly crashing. Listen, here's the thing. If you're going to continue to funnel demand into one area, right? Because I know that some territories it's different. You can get things in different spots, but like in North America, for example, which is a huge market for them, they're now starting to make more and more stuff. You can only get it through their own PlayStation Direct website. Great. But if you're going to continue to do that, you have got to improve the infrastructure of that website, because this can't be just come a continuous thing where every time they're going to put a, you can only get it here thing, it's going to crash every single time. Like they cannot do that. So I'm planning on it, Duquesta. I'm going to get up. I'm going to try and get the faceplates and the controller. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's a much better and more smooth process than it was getting the collector's editions, because that was a freaking nightmare. It was crashing for like hours. It was ridiculous. So they got to get better infrastructure if they're going to keep doing this. All right, let's look at the results of this poll that I'm running. So right now, I asked you guys if Microsoft's going to beat their gaming forecast for Starfield quarter. 33% of you say yes, they are being too conservative. We have a tie, actually, for number one. And the other 33% said maybe, depends on Starfield quality. So the majority of you think, as long as Starfield's good, that this is going to be expectations. That's 66% combined. That's 2/3 of people. And I am with you guys. I think as long as Starfield's a good game, I think this is too conservative, personally. 17% of you think they're going to just come right in at forecast. And then 17% of you say they'll think they'll come under forecast. I think under forecast is the least likely option here. But I can understand thinking that, considering they literally just came in under forecast this quarter. So I can understand thinking that, but I think they'll beat it. I think they're going to get a ton of Game Pass signups, and I think they're going to sell a ton of copies of this game on Steam, and I think it's going to push hardware. So, but we'll see. We'll see. It really does come down to how good Starfield is. I mean, if Starfield comes out and it's like a shocking 60s or 70s Metacritic, I find that highly doubtful. But if it does, well, that's a whole different scenario. But as long as this thing is high 80s, 90s would be incredible, but you can't just count on high 90s. As long as this thing's like high 80s or better, it should be huge. It should be huge for their whole business. Blazing Flame, hey there, Benji. Sorry I missed a lot of your live streams. Was busy with life. Blazing Flame, it's no problem at all. Blazing Flame, I didn't even stream for 4 weeks because I was out of my mind, depressed, and filled with anxiety. So, man, dude, if you miss streams, it ain't no thing at all, man. I completely understand. Just enjoy life. My question to you is, do you think Microsoft/Xbox will make all Activision titles exclusive to their ecosystem besides COD? Yes, I do. I've said that a lot. I don't think that anything is going to remain multi-platform but Call of Duty, simply because that's the only contract that's signed. So Microsoft's under zero obligation to launch a single other game on other platforms. Now, I could be wrong here. Maybe some of this stuff is. Now, keep in mind, the games that are already released, there's no chance they're going to pull back on those, just like with Bethesda, right? Overwatch 2, every season of Overwatch 2, every hero, everything to do with Overwatch 2, that is absolutely going to be on PlayStation. Every single expansion and piece of content for Diablo 4, zero question, all of that's going to be on PlayStation. So anything that's already released, there's no doubt they won't pull back on that. They didn't pull back on the Bethesda online games like Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online. They're not going to pull back on these already released Blizzard games. Call of Duty is absolutely going to remain multi-platform. Even without a contract, in my opinion, it would remain multi-platform. But everything else, yeah, I don't think that they are going to release these on PlayStation. If there's ever another Crash Bandicoot, yeah, I don't see that being on PlayStation. If there's ever another Spyro, I don't see that on PlayStation. If there's ever another Tony Hawk Pro Skater, don't think that's going to be on PlayStation. If there's new IPs from Blizzard and Activision, I don't think that's going to be on PlayStation. And it's because there's no contract. They're under no obligation to do it, so why would they? Especially for non-service games. I think there's an okay chance, not a guarantee, but I think there's an okay chance that maybe some of the other new release service games, maybe they do put those on PlayStation, right? Maybe if there is, eventually there's going to be a Diablo 5. Who knows when? That's probably many years away. But maybe they decide to put Diablo 5 on PlayStation. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I would say any non-service game, like I said, Crash games, Spyro games, Tony Hawk games, things like that, I am almost 99.9% certain that those will be console exclusive because there's no reason for them to put them on rival platforms. The best bet on non-service games is to make that console exclusive to help drive hardware sales and also to help drive people towards Game Pass subscriptions. So, yeah, I would just count on, if you're a PlayStation gamer right now, there is a chance you're going to get the service games. Won't rule that out. Non-service games, I find it extremely unlikely that they will make those multi-platform. All right, let's see. Let me make sure that there's maybe some channel member questions, since we did just get some new channel members thanks to the generosity of Highlander. Let's see if they drop some of those into chat. And thanks for over 100 in chat right now, guys. Highlander here with an actual channel member question saying, with Tencent acquiring controlling interest in Techland, do you see more buying companies doing this instead of buying the whole company? It's possible. This kind of is actually like a Tencent signature move. They like to like heavily invest and become the majority shareholder or massive shareholders of companies without full-on acquisition. Now, they sometimes do a full-on acquisition where they just completely buy out the whole company. But this has been a thing that Tencent's done a lot, actually. They've done a lot of these like just major investments into companies without full-on buying. We've actually even seen Sony start to ramp this up a little bit with like what they've done with Epic. Now, they haven't become the majority shareholder of Epic, but you've seen Sony buy like quite a few, like they've done big investments into Epic Games, for example. So this could be a strategy for some companies. I would particularly say third-party publishers. I don't think you'll see companies like Microsoft do this. I don't think you'll see companies like Nintendo really do this. For those, I think it would make more sense for just full-on acquisitions when possible. I suspect even Sony, for the most part, it will be full-on acquisitions when possible. I think Epic, what they did with Epic is a bit of a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of an exception than the rule for what Sony wants to do. But I could see more third-party publishers, like Tencent, for example, doing this sort of thing instead of a full-on acquisition. But we'll have to see. But yes, I do think it is a viable thing to do, for sure. But like I said, not so much on platform holders. Platform holders, I think it makes more sense to just straight up buy the company if you can. All right. Thomas Lee Ford saying, hello, what is up, Hamish? Carlos Morera here, a channel member that has not had a question answered. Oh, no, he's just saying thanks to Highlander, for sure. Jose, which was one of the new channel members. Thoughts on the new Armored Core sales-wise? Great question, Jose. I suspect it will be the best-selling Armored Core game ever made. Now, do I think that it is going to hit Elden Ring type numbers, Dark Souls 3 type numbers? No. So I would be very, very careful going, oh, this is going to hit the heights of like some of other From Software mega hits. Do not expect that at all. But do I think it will be the best-selling Armored Core game ever? To me, it's like actually not a question, as long as the game is not absolutely terrible, because From Software is so much more well-known than when the last Armored Core came out. It is quite literally night and day. It is a completely different company in terms of like visibility and fan base than it was the last time they launched an Armored Core game. I think this thing's launch sales will be so far beyond any previous Armored Core game that you kind of can't even compare it. So the question to me on Armored Core isn't really going to be how it launches. And again, keep in mind, I am only looking at this in comparison to previous Armored Core games. It is not going to launch like an Elden Ring game. It is not going to launch like a Dark Souls game. Maybe I'll be shocked if it launches like a Dark Souls game. I'm not expecting that at all. But it's going to launch so much bigger than any previous Armored Core. It's just not close. Their fan base is so much bigger than it ever was before. So, but the question to me with Armored Core is more going to be if it has any legs. Because a lot of people that are going to buy this are going to buy it as their first ever Armored Core game. I think 90%. I'm not kidding. I won't be surprised. That might be a little aggressive. I won't be surprised if 70, 80, 90% of the people that buy this game, it will be the first Armored Core game they have ever played in their lives. I really think it's going to be like an incredibly high percentage. They're just buying it because it's the next From Software game and they want to see what it's like. So the question is, Will those people love that game and tell their friends that it's an amazing game and make the legs on it great? Or will it sell a ton out of the gate compared to previous Armored Core games, but then people realize it's very different than Dark Souls and Elden Ring, and will those legs kind of fall off pretty hard once people realize what it is? Because Armored Core is nothing like those other games. It's still a hard game, right? It still has that difficulty curve that From Software is known for, but it plays nothing like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring. It's a whole different beast. So that's the big question. The big question to me isn't if it launches well. It's going to launch well for an Armored Core game. The question is, does it have any legs? And that, I have no idea. We're just going to have to see what reception's like. Highlander001 with a 2 super chat. Have to keep your daughter in ice cream. Well, thank you so much, Highlander. I appreciate that super chat. I appreciate how supportive you always are of the channel and giving back to the community with those channel memberships. That's amazing, brother. And I know you're a girl dad yourself, man. And yeah, you got to keep the daughters happy. Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much. I will buy her an ice cream and I will say, this is from Highlander. Straight up. She knows I do these videos. She doesn't really understand it yet. She's about to turn 5. She's like 4. She understands the concept of YouTube, but she's seen me before and she's been like, that's dad, and like kind of weirded out by it. But I will tell her. I will say, this is an ice cream from Highlander. Okay. Every channel member has had at least one question answered and super chats are cleared. So let's hit some more free questions. Ghost Tunnels. Hey, Benji, do you think Microsoft will acquire more publishers? No. Do you think there's going to be a publisher acquisition arms race, or do you think Microsoft won't buy more publishers and lay low? I truly believe that Activision Blizzard is the last publisher Microsoft buys. As I always say, this could be wrong, right? I always try to make it very clear. I don't claim to know everything or some genius, but I just think Activision Blizzard was such a battle. There's two ways to look at the Activision Blizzard thing eventually going through. Some people look at it as, hey, at the end of the day, they still got it through, and that's a message to Microsoft that, hey, it was tough, but you got it, so that means you can go for more. That's one way to look at it. I personally do not look at it that way. I look at it as, hey, yes, you guys got Activision Blizzard, and it was an absolute battle. You got it through at the skin of your teeth, and you're going to get it through later than what you expected it to be. And that's a message that it's pretty freaking hard to get more because it was already hard to get this one, and they're going to use Bethesda and Activision Blizzard as ammo against you if you go for another large-scale publisher. And that might fail at that point. So I personally, Ghost Tunnels, I personally think this is the last publisher that Microsoft buys. I've said a ton of times, I do not expect this is the last developer that Microsoft buys. I think they're going to get more. I think maybe they buy Certain Affinity. I think maybe they buy a Japanese studio if they can. But I've said before, I think that's going to be a little difficult. If I was advising Microsoft, I would start a brand new Japanese studio and poach talent. It's 100% what I would do. I'd build a brand new Japanese team. I would say, we're going to give you guys an awesome budget, so you're not going to have to be terrified of not having a budget. We're going to, put you on Game Pass, so if you don't get strong sales in Japan, it's not the end of the world. Since Xbox doesn't have a huge presence in Japan, you have this safety net of Game Pass behind you, and we're going to let you get a lot of creative freedom. Those three combo is going to poach some talent. I've said it before. Is it going to pull tons? Like, you're going to just get thousands of devs wanting to leave Japanese studios to come work at Xbox? No, but you're absolutely going to be able to poach enough talent to start a new studio there with those sort of things. And I think that's a better and easier way than trying to buy a Japanese studio, because I think most of these Japanese studios are not going to want to sell. I personally think that. I don't think they're going to want to sell to Xbox. So just build a new one. It's going to take a longer time to pay off, and I'm sure Microsoft wants a quick payoff, but if you can't get the quick payoff, you get the one you can get, and that's by building a new studio. So that's my thought on that. But I don't think they're going to buy a publisher again. I could be wrong, though. Yoda Soda, Benji, boy, how do you see PlayStation responding to Microsoft acquisitions of two big publishers? Do you think they will go and buy a big publisher, or do you think they will continue to buy devs instead of pubs? I've said for probably a year, I expect that Sony's going to make an acquisition bigger than Bungie. I don't know exactly when they announced they were going to buy Bungie. I don't even know if it's been a year, but I know it's been a long time. I've said since then I think they will make a purchase bigger than Bungie, but I have no idea what that is. So I have no idea. The Odasoda, the answer for you is, do I think there's a chance that Sony goes for a publisher? Yes. However, that would not be Take-Two or EA. I've seen people be like, go buy Take-Two, go buy EA. Don't think that's going to happen at all. I think there's like 0% chance. But could they go for a Ubisoft? Could they go for a Japanese publisher? It would be easier for Sony to buy a Japanese publisher than it would be for Microsoft, because Sony is headquartered in Japan. They are a Japanese company. That's going to be easier for them to acquire a Japanese publisher than it will be for Microsoft. Could they go for a Square Enix? Could they go for a Sega? Who knows? But I do suspect at the end of the day, I keep saying it, I think they will get someone bigger than Bungie. I do believe that. But I have no idea who that person or company is going to be. Mac Roberts, Pikmin 4 more than doubled the previous launch in Japan and already outsold Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. That Pikmin launch is crazy. Absolutely crazy, man. I've said it before. There's never been a platform ever that's pushed first-party software like Switch has. That's just facts. Some people will be like, oh, Wii was amazing at it, and Wii was an absolute beast at it. And hey, PlayStation 4 was amazing at it. Ain't nothing pushed first-party software like Switch. It ain't a coincidence that if you look at many of Nintendo's franchises, their best sales ever in the franchise are the Switch versions. There has never been a platform that can accelerate and push first-party software like the Nintendo Switch. It's the most impressive first-party software pushing machine in the history of the video game industry. It's absolutely incredible. Casual Gamer, hello. Hope you're doing well. When do you think PlayStation will finally show what first-party titles they have planned for the foreseeable future? Don't you think they should show what they have cooking? Well, there's all sorts of like theories and rumors that they're going to be doing a second showcase this year. Some people have even theorized it's in August. That seems awfully quick to me. I do think they have to absolutely build a roadmap. I think their last PlayStation Showcase was not near effective enough at that. It essentially only announced some service games, and I'll be frank, I've been honest with you guys a lot on this. Some of those service games are going to fail. They just are. So, yeah, they need to show. What is Bend up to? What is Sucker Punch up to? What is Naughty Dog up to? There's a lot of their first party studios that don't have anything announced. So do I think they need to sometime soon? Yes. It's not the end of the world. PlayStation 5 continues to sell amazing. They sold 40 million consoles already. But they do need to announce some of these games. And I suspect the reason you haven't seen them is, like I've said all along, I just think these studios aren't ready to show games. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories out there that Sony wasn't having a showcase because the Activision Blizzard acquisition. That never made sense to me at all, because all of those first-party games are from studios they already own. Like, it doesn't really matter if they show games that they literally own the studios of. That would have no impact on the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Maybe if they came out and announced a ton of timed third-party exclusive games, okay, maybe potentially that could have had some impact if they came out and announced, at a big showcase, 5 exclusive from massive third-party publishers that they bought exclusive rights to. Maybe something like that could have been a little something, but no, CMA, FTC, none of these, people are going to care about games that Sony already owns the studio. So that never made sense to me. I just think their teams aren't ready. They're just not ready to show these games. But hopefully they are sometime soon. Let's make sure there's no super chats or channel members that haven't gotten a question answered yet. J2 Blue in the Sky. Dang, Benji ain't pulling no punches. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. I try to be fair. I don't think I've been mean about anything, but I'm not sure what that's in reference to. But I always tell you guys, I just try to be very honest about what I think. How says your mic volume is very low. Yeah, this has been a bit of an issue for a while, but I have OBS cranked to max, and I also have the gain very high on my mic. Did that help at all? I just turned it up more. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. It's been a thing for a while that my mic volume's not very high, but I don't know. Maybe I just need to buy a new mic. Hopefully turning up that gain didn't just like blow it out. But I don't know. It's been an issue for a while. I noticed that my volume tends to be low, but it is what it is. Just crank up your speakers or headphones. I'll try and fix it at some point. Maybe I need a new mic. Batman Forever. Hey, Benji, do you think Red Dead Redemption 2 will get a remaster or a patch to make it run on consoles at 60 FPS and have faster load times? Do you think it all depends on how well Red Dead Redemption 1 remaster does? I do find it a bit surprising there has still been no current gen patch for Red Dead 2. Pretty strange to me. I feel like you could definitely run that game locked at 60 FPS on PlayStation 5 and Series X. I think Series X might actually be able to hit 60 FPS through its backwards compatibility mode. I haven't played it on there, but I think I've seen that before. PlayStation 5, as far as I know, does not hit 60 FPS. There's some other things that they could do with it on next gen. Current gen now, I think. I am surprised this has not happened. So I don't know. Batman Forever, to be perfectly clear, or honest with you, I don't know. I don't know if there will ever be a patch to make Red Dead 2 better on consoles or not. I don't know. To me, it makes sense to do it, but maybe there's something, preventing it. Maybe even though it seems like they would easily be able to get the game improved on current gen, maybe they don't think they can. Or maybe they're just too busy, Jed Gangman, hey Benji, do you think more RPGs will continue to move away from turn-based in the future? I think there's a real opening for turn-based AAA RPG right now because they just aren't making them, right? Like, there's not many big, giant turn-based RPGs that have a AAA or even high AA budget. It's just all moving into this action-style gameplay. And there's, like, hybrids and stuff. Like, there's other sorts of things, but there's not, like, a true, just straight-up turn-based AAA JRPG really out in the market right now. I think it would be a very interesting thing to do, just to see if there's still big demand for that sort of thing. I would love to see it. I really like classic turn-based JRPGs. You still get them in like lower budget games, but you just don't see it as much in the big giant games. They really make them action heavy, and I think that's particularly to appeal to the West. Because the reality is there are some people in the West that truly hate turn-based RPGs. I've talked to a bunch of people over the years that they just don't like it. But we'll see. Shagratho6 saying, greetings from Croatia, Benji. Well, greetings to you in Croatia. I love seeing people from all over the world in chat. It's literally one of the big highlights for me is seeing people from all over the world pop into chat. Greetings to you in Croatia. I hope you're doing awesome, Shagrath. J2 Blue Sky says, it's in reference to Sony's first-party games as a service games for me saying pulling no punches. Yeah, that's just the reality. Some of them are going to fail. Doesn't mean all of them are going to fail. Maybe what's the Firewalk game called again? Concord? Maybe Concord can be a big hit. Who knows? Maybe I always forget what the Haven one's called because, I'll be honest, I don't think it looks very good. But I could be wrong on that. But the style to me just doesn't look great. Maybe they're both massive hits, right? And maybe they get 2 or 3 huge service hits, but they're not going to all hit. That's just the reality. A lot of them are going to fail. That's just the reality of service-based games, dude. It is the most competitive segment of the gaming market there is, in my opinion. Marvel Fanatic, Benji, I love Marvel games. I am wondering if there's a third Marvel game that's PlayStation exclusive currently in development by a second or third party dev. When could it be announced after Wolverine is out? There has been like rumors that there's another exclusive Marvel game to PlayStation. I don't know who that would come from. Insomniac have hinted that they have a third game in the works. I'm pretty sure that that's a service game, by the way. I don't know. I haven't had someone from Insomniac tell me, but they've been hiring for multiplayer for a while, and we know that Spider-Man 2 does not have multiplayer, so that would make sense, right? Wolverine doesn't seem like a game that would have multiplayer because the title is literally about a singular character. It's not X-Men, it's Wolverine. So that doesn't probably have multiplayer. Spider-Man 2 doesn't have multiplayer. If they're hiring people to work on multiplayer, their third game is probably a multiplayer service game. Maybe that's something set in the Marvel universe. I think that would be actually a bit of a bummer, even though I love Insomniac and I love what they've done with Spider-Man. I don't want them to become just only making Marvel games. So that would be a bit of a bummer to me. So the question then is, who else would be making it? Bend, we know, is making a new IP. They've outright stated it's a new IP. Santa Monica is currently working on a new IP. Naughty Dog is heavily rumored to be making Last of Us Part 3 right now. I just don't know what studio it would be unless it's a third party. Like you said, maybe they have a third party making an exclusive game to them from Marvel, but it's hard to say. There have been some rumors about it. I'm not saying it's rumors like people whispering to me. I'm saying I've seen the rumors out into the ether that some people say that there is, but I have no information on that. We'll have to see. Portal Player, 40 million sold is big. I think it will outsell PS4 at this pace. It's a great question. I think there's no chance, or I think it's an absolute lock that PlayStation 5 is going to sell 100 million units lifetime. Whether it will pass PS4, decent chance. PS4 ended up getting its legs cut out from underneath it faster, I think, than I and many people expected, and I think that was mostly fueled by the pandemic. Sony essentially had to make a choice once chips started getting very hard to get a hold of. It was like, there's only so much manufacturing out there. You have to pick one. We're either just going to have to like basically kill the PlayStation 4 and focus all of it on the PlayStation 5 since things are so constrained. Like, if there was no pandemic, I think Sony would have let PlayStation 4 leg out a little bit more than they did. They just had to make a hard choice, and it was like, yo, we got to basically kill the PS4 so we can focus on making PS5s because there's like chip shortages are so extreme. So, you know, there's a chance it could definitely outsell PS4 because, like I said, its legs got cut out from underneath it. But I don't think that's a lock. I do think it's a lock this gets to 100 million, though. Split End says, make sure and smash that like button. Well, I appreciate it, Split End. I appreciate it, buddy. I will not say no to likes. CFresh 2180 says stagnant numbers. Yeah, for Microsoft, it was basically stagnant. 5%, like 1% for overall gaming revenue growth. That literally is by definition basically stagnant. See, has every channel member gotten a question answered? Do we have any other channel members that have popped in? Okay, every channel member's gotten at least one. I'm going to answer like one or two more free questions, and then I'm not done. But then I'm going to jump into back so channel members get some even more questions answered. Because there are other questions in here from channel members I already got at least one. So I'll give you guys some more. Cookie Cutter. Hi, Benji. Sorry I'm late. Hope you answer my question. Well, I'm getting to it, Cookie Cutter. We got you. Do you think next year we will get a lot more new game announcements at E3/summer season? Or do you think we shouldn't expect more than we got in 2023? I think more. Right now, game development has fully gotten back to basically where it was pre-pandemic from what I understand. Maybe there's a few devs that are still like having issues, but from what I understand, like we're fully back into like full-on production. In like this year, we were still, people were basically already getting back to full-on production this year, but you got to think, if you're announcing something this year, that means it's something you've been working on the last couple of years, and the last couple of years, as we know, was massively interrupted in many, many ways by the pandemic. So my guess to you, Cookie Cutter, don't know this, but my guess is, yeah, you'll see more new game announcements next year than you did this year. I do think so, yeah. You'll also have Nintendo announcing a lot of games for their new platform next year because it seems all indications are Switch 2 launches next year at some point. So you're going to have Nintendo announcing new games. You're going to have Sony probably announcing a lot more games than they did this year because, as we talked about, so many of their first-party studios don't even have a game announced yet. And Xbox, I don't know if Xbox will have more new announcements, honestly, because Xbox actually did have a good showcase this year. They announced a lot of new stuff. Though a lot of it was actually updates now that I think about it. Fable was a game that was already announced. Avowed was a game that was already announced. So it was updates. They had some new ones. I always forget the name of the Compulsion game, always for some reason, but the Midnight or something like that, something by Midnights. I literally always forget the name of this game for some reason. That was a new announcement. Flight Sim 2024 was a new announcement. So they did have some new announcements, but now that I think about it, quite a few of the big ones at the showcase were updates. So yeah, across the board, I think you see more new games announced next year. Yeah. Ha. Southwick K. Hi, Benji. Good to see you live, catching for the first time. Well, it's always so exciting when someone's live for the first time in the stream. We have a super core group here that's usually a lot of the same names and faces every stream, so it's always exciting to see new people here. Not that I don't love the familiar faces. Love you guys, but it's always cool to see new people live as well. Michael DeVore, did that Optimus forecast last quarter include Redfall that they thought would do better? Oh, that's actually an interesting question. Maybe Redfall had some impact on those results. It's possible. It's possible. Because Redfall, by all indications, was a true bomb. So, maybe. Maybe. You could be right, Michael. Maybe part of the underwhelming result is they expected better from Redfall. Could be part of it. Portal Player, I thought ABK would help boost them for July and August. Well, Portal Player, I don't expect Activision Blizzard to have any result on their gaming division until, like, it actually is there. You know what I mean? Like, right now, they don't actually own Activision Blizzard. All indications are, like, we're at, like, 99% odds at this point that they're going to get Activision Blizzard. But they still technically do not own them. So right now, even though it seems likely, like the people that know about, like the people that were following this whole FTC and CMA situation were like the hardcores of the hardcores. Your average Joe, like they might know that Microsoft's trying to buy Activision Blizzard, but they don't actually see that yet, right? Like these games aren't on Game Pass yet. They're not getting, you know, any of that sort of thing. So don't expect a big impact from Activision Blizzard until like they're actually owned and they're like actually putting Call of Duty games on Game Pass and Blizzard games and all that sort of stuff. Once that happens, yeah, you're going to see a big impact on their gaming division. But right now, the only people that really know about what's even going on are like the most hardcore of the hardcore. I think we just had a super chat. Let me hit that super chat. We did have a super chat. Thank you so much. Dead Planet dropping a 5. Thank you so much. Is it crazy to think Xbox poor performance is in parts to the fact their 2022 hit list drought is still lingering? No, you're spot on. No real Game Pass drop this year either. You're spot on, Dead Planet, and it goes back to exactly why, again, I disagree with the Phil Spencer comments. The first-party games are in many ways what drives a platform to a degree. And the counter argument you see about that is, well, none of Sony's games sell like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, so clearly it's Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty driving PlayStation. There is no doubt that Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Madden, FIFA, all of these games do massive business on PlayStation. They do massive business on Xbox, et cetera, et cetera. But what's the differentiator, right? Madden's the exact same on both of them. FIFA is the exact same on both of them. Call of Duty is the exact same on both of them. What's the differentiator? The differentiator is God of War. The differentiator is Spider-Man. The differentiator is Horizon. And these aren't small games. These are games that sell 20 million units or more, right? They're games like The Last of Us. They're games like Uncharted. So if the question is, what games are just flat out making the most money on PlayStation? Yeah, it's going to be your Call of Duties, it's going to be your Grand Theft Autos, it's going to be your Maddens, it's going to be your FIFAs. But whenever a consumer is walking into a store and they're trying to decide what is the difference between a PlayStation and an Xbox, one thing that absolutely sticks out are God of War, a game that sold over 20 million copies, which is not a small number. It's a game like The Last of Us, which sold over 20 million copies. That's not a small number, right? It's these big exclusives. There's zero question. We have mountains of evidence across multiple platforms that first party can help push hardware sales. So Dead Planet, There's not a doubt in my mind that part of the reason with Xbox's performance right now is their lack of big exclusive quality games. There's no debate. There's no question about it. It shouldn't even be a discussion point because that is absolutely part of the impact of what's going on with Xbox's business. There just hasn't been a lot of big first-party hits. I loved Hi-Fi Rush. That game was amazing, but that was a very small game, a new IP. It wasn't, the big flagship next Bethesda game from Starfield, right? If Starfield comes out, and if Starfield's high quality, and if Xbox still has a poor quarter, then I would say, whoa, Xbox is in big trouble, right? At that point, I would say they have a lot of problems on their hand. If something like Starfield can't even push their ecosystem, at that point, I would be alarmed. However, I don't think that's the case. I think Starfield, if it comes out, it's going to be good. If it's good, is going to have a huge boost on Game Pass subs, huge boost on hardware, huge boost across the board on their whole ecosystem. So we'll have to see Dead Planet. But yes, I think the main issue for them is they went an entire year with almost no big first-party hits. They had some cool games like Pentiment, which were very small games, but they haven't had a string of huge, high-quality hits essentially since 2021, right? They've gone a year and 7 months without a ton of first-party hits. That's going to impact your business. It's just not up for debate. What do you think would happen to Nintendo Switch if it went more than a year without a big first-party game? Like, it would not sell the way it's selling right now. Now, would Nintendo still be incredibly healthy? Sure. Does Switch have a ton of demand just by itself? Sure. But if you saw Switch literally go a year and 7 months without a big Nintendo hit, I am telling you, you would see big declines on their performance. That's just how it works. So, and Dead Planet with a second $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Dead Planet. That's very, very kind of you to do back-to-back $5 super chats. Do you expect some in the casual market not in the know to hear Xbox bought Call of Duty and buy an Xbox based on this? If so, how significant a portion? My opinion has always been, Dead Planet, there is no doubt that Activision Blizzard is going to have an impact on the Xbox ecosystem. I've always said there is no doubt that Call of Duty dropping day one on Game Pass is going to attract some people to Game Pass and even some people to buy Xboxes. The thing I've always said is I would be very cautious on overestimating the impact Call of Duty specifically, not Activision Blizzard King, specifically Call of Duty. I would be always cautious around the Game Pass growth and console moving growth that Call of Duty by itself will have. And the main reason I caution against that is this game is going to be the exact same game that it's been on PlayStation for the next 10 years, right? The contract is signed. So if you are already a PlayStation gamer, right, and you're already in the PlayStation ecosystem, and you now still are getting the exact same game you always got, no difference, and you can just buy it on your platform. It's the exact same it's been for the past 20 years that Call of Duty has been popular or whatever. I don't know that that person is suddenly going to feel incentivized. Oh, wait, now, even though I already own a PS5, I can already get the exact same game I've been getting on PS5 for the next 10 years. Now I need to rush out and buy an Xbox and rush out and subscribe to Game Pass. Why wouldn't you just buy the game like you've been doing for the past 20 years on the console you already own? So there are going to be some people, I'm not telling you it's zero, there's going to be some people, absolutely, that move their Call of Duty play from PlayStation to Xbox to Game Pass, etc. However, I think the main growth from Activision Blizzard King that's going to come from console sales and from Game Pass growth are going to be games that are exclusive to that ecosystem. They're going to be new games from Blizzard, new games from other Activision studios, Crash Bandicoots, Spyros, Tony Hawk's. And yes, none of these games themselves are as big as Call of Duty. There's no question about it. In terms of just overall revenue growth that's going to come for Xbox gaming, right? If we're talking about the overall gaming, Call of Duty is going to be a massive boon to their gaming division. But if we're talking about moving hardware sales, moving Game Pass subscriptions, it's going to be games that are not available on PlayStation, because those games that are available on PlayStation, people can just buy them the exact same as they've always done. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the way that they really move Game Pass subs, really move consoles from Activision Blizzard King. It's going to be new games from Blizzard, new games from these other Activision studios that aren't Call of Duty and aren't on PlayStation. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. Oh, wow. It's the exact same question. How big of a boost to Xbox sales with Call of Duty once ABK closes? I know Call of Duty will be on PS5, but if they see a smaller, medium bump to sales, they will have some. Absolutely, they will have some. Do I think suddenly it propels Xbox to the best-selling platform over PlayStation 5? I think it's zero chance. Zero. So, some, absolutely, no question. Are they going to sell some consoles based off of Call of Duty becoming an Xbox company, right? Sure. Is it suddenly, wow, now all of a sudden they own Call of Duty, Xbox is now going to just outsell PlayStation 5? No, that's not going to happen because Call of Duty is still on PlayStation. Nothing, if you're a PlayStation gamer right now, in regards to just Call of Duty and the games that are out right now, Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, nothing changed. Nothing. It's the exact same situation you're in right now. Where it starts changing is when the new games come out. And if those are console exclusive outside of Call of Duty, that's where things start to shift. So some impact, absolutely, zero question, no doubt about it. They are going to get some Game Pass subscribers from Call of Duty. They are going to sell some consoles from Call of Duty. But is it suddenly now Xbox is just number one and they're just destroying PlayStation 5 in sales? That will not happen just strictly based off of Call of Duty. The big growth is going to come from these new games. Now, I'd be singing a different story if Call of Duty was exclusive. If Call of Duty was completely removed off of PlayStation platforms, we're having a completely different conversation than we're having right now. We would see a seismic shift in hardware sales. There's no question about it. Now, would that seismic shift in hardware sales be worth it in the end because of the massive decline in revenue from pulling it off of PlayStation? I don't think it's worth it. And I think Microsoft also does not believe it's worth it. And that's why Microsoft will continue to leave it on PlayStation, because at the end of the day, yeah, you're going to sell a ton of consoles from making Call of Duty exclusive, but I don't know that selling those consoles is going to be worth the payoff of the massive decline in revenue from just keeping it on PlayStation. So if it was exclusive, this whole conversation is different, but I just don't think it's worth it anyways to make it exclusive. Call of Duty specifically. Other franchises, I do think it's worth it. All right. We have more super chats coming in. Thank you, guys. How says there's Honkai is turn-based Benji sales. Great point out, How. Great point out. I haven't played Honkai Star Rail yet. It's not out on PS5 yet, right? It's just on mobile and PC, I think, right now. I know it's coming to PlayStation. I just don't think it's out on PS5 yet. But that's a great shout out, How. Honkai Star Rail is one. Good shout out for a turn-based RPG. Straight Shot with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Straight Shot. Benji, hi. If Activision Blizzard have all this lucrative dormant IP, what will Microsoft do different? This is a great question. So the big question is, with Microsoft now buying Activision Blizzard, does Activision Blizzard, well, listen, Blizzard makes different games. We'll say Activision. Does Activision continue to just be a Call of Duty machine? Because that's essentially all Activision is at this point. Do they occasionally release something else, right? We just had that Crash Bash or whatever it's called released. You know, they did that Spyro remake. You know, there are a few sprinkles. That's how I describe it. There's a few sprinkles from Activision outside of Call of Duty. But 90% of Activision, not Activision Blizzard King, Activision, 90% of Activision is strictly a Call of Duty machine. That's all it is. They're just pumping out Call of Duty. Whether that's Warzone, whether that's the yearly Call of Duty, whether it's Call of Duty Mobile, 90% of Activision, that's it. It's just a Call of Duty machine. In and out, in and out, in and out. That's all you do. Just Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. And on one side, that's understandable because Call of Duty makes ridiculous money. So why would you not focus on Call of Duty? Is suddenly you're going to see a huge pullback on Call of Duty once Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard King? No, right? They're going to still need to keep Call of Duty the super healthy, vibrant brand because there's just so much money to be made there. The question is by now becoming not independent, but owned, does that incentivize Activision a little bit to now explore some of their other IP that they own or even create new IP? That's really the big debate. My hope is now by being bought by a platform holder, there is some incentive to make more games besides Call of Duty. I do not have the answer for you on that, if it will happen, though. Phil has kind of hinted that he wants this to happen, but wanting something to happen and making it happen are two completely different things, because there's not just infinite workforce, right? So if you make other things besides Call of Duty, that means you have to take those people off of Call of Duty, and it's already a huge challenge for them to ship Call of Duty. This is a known thing in the industry. Every once in a while you see reports bubble up, so-and-so Call of Duty is in development hell. I'm telling you guys, that's been the case for like every Call of Duty for years. They always struggle to get this thing out the door. Doesn't mean the game itself is always bad. It just means it's always a complete race to the finish line to get Call of Duty shipped. So if you're going to continue to ship Call of Duty every year, there's been some hints that maybe they weren't going to do that, but lo and behold, here we are with the Call of Duty this year, and that wasn't the original plan. The reports were there was going to be an expansion, but they were going to take a year off from a new Call of Duty title. That changed. They turned that expansion into a full-on game again. So if they're still going to make Call of Duty every single freaking year, it's going to be very, very hard to make a ton of other games at Activision because you have so many people on that one franchise. Now, if they do change Call of Duty to every 2 years or so, then things get a little different, straight shot. Then you have a chance that some people can go and work on something else because you're just going to slow down the output of Call of Duty in general. Then it could happen. But if they continue to make Call of Duty an every single year release, it is going to be tough. It is going to be tough to have just tons of other Activision IPs being worked on because they need so many people to get Call of Duty out the door every year. I mean, we talk all the time about how hard it is to ship a game in like 5 years nowadays, right? Big AAA games, it's hard to get them shipped in 5 years. They're shipping a AAA Call of Duty game every single year. And I know that those are different studios making them, but it's still a giant AAA game every single year. That is hard. That is hard to do. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. I think Blizzard and specifically WoW will be bigger than Call of Duty on PC. I've been preaching it for a long time, Highlander. I have friends who are getting Game Pass on PC because they see WoW going to Game Pass. I've been preaching this for a long time. I've been saying everyone's so focused. The FTC, CMA, they're all so focused on what Call of Duty will do subscription while completely ignoring Blizzard. And I've been like, I don't know what y'all are doing for your case, but okay. Zero in on Call of Duty if you want. Highlander, I've been preaching for forever. Blizzard's going to have a massive impact on Game Pass growth as long as they heavily incorporate Blizzard onto Game Pass. Because what do we know from Phil's own words? And they mentioned this again, by the way, during the FTC hearing. Where is Game Pass growing the most? It's growing the most on PC. It's not growing the most on console, which makes sense because they've basically already heavily saturated their console Game Pass subscribers. PC, they haven't saturated that. What do we know is one of the biggest publishers of all time on PC? Blizzard. There's no doubt. As long as Blizzard gets heavy incorporation with Game Pass on PC, it's going to have massive growth. Yeah, I would expect huge growth from WoW. Not even just WoW, from Blizzard in general. Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. And thank you for that super chat. Thank you for all those super chats. I'm going to go for about 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes and I got to go. 10 more minutes and I got to go. All right, where did I leave off at? Where did I leave off at? Oh, I missed some questions earlier. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Sorry, I'm trying to find where the heck I was in chat. Sorry for the dead air. I'm still trying to find where I was at. Cookie Cutter, I answered. Southwick, I answered. Michael DeVore, I answered. Luis SR, hi Benji, hope you're doing good, man. I wanted to say I'm beginning to feel it is not that clear that Series XS will end up selling more than Xbox One. I don't know what you think about that. Luis SR, I'm still fully on the train that Series X and S are going to outsell Xbox One, and I think by quite a bit. I know that things have definitely slowed down, but as I always say, again, first-party software has a huge impact on console sales. We know this from multiple platforms for multiple decades. And the reality is that Xbox Series X and S have not had big first-party software for years, right? Like it's been almost 2 years. The last mega big hit software releases were Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5. Now, Halo Infinite fell off hard, but people continuously forget that Halo Infinite was a beast out of the gate, an absolute behemoth, and then it fell off. Forza Horizon 5, huge hit. So it's really been since 2021. They just haven't had big hits since 2021. And I think if they really get Starfield in its high quality, Forza Motorsport super high quality, Fable's high quality, Avowed's high quality. Like if they start getting a steady release of games, I do think you're going to see a big acceleration of Xbox hardware compared to what they're doing right now. So I'm still fully on board that they're going to outsell Xbox One. Xbox 360, that's a whole different conversation. Probably not. But I do suspect they're going to sell Xbox One by quite a bit. I think Microsoft might have a better second half of this generation than first half, just based off how software releases worked out. Jacob Lesperant, Spider-Man 2 wishlist at my local game store is over 400 orders. It's a mom and pop shop and not even a big store. Christmas sales for PS5 will probably be insane. Yeah, Spider-Man 2, I've said it before, no PlayStation game tracks like Spider-Man on social metrics. There's just not. There's not a single exclusive game that they have that tracks like Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 2 is going to be an absolute behemoth. Yeah, no question. Behemoth. Liquid Guns. I don't know whether Starfield will make money or not upon launch for Xbox, but I think in the long run it will keep selling like Minecraft and Grand Theft Auto 5, with modders getting huge role in continuing the game. I personally believe if Starfield is high quality, it will have the biggest launch in the history of the Xbox games division by player engagement. Now, by sales, no. I don't expect Starfield to sell more than Halo 3 did at launch, for example. Could be wrong. Maybe I am. But I don't think it will have the highest raw sales. I do think it will have the highest player engagement of all time because, guys, I mean, look at what Halo Infinite did on Game Pass, and that was a game that, like, just rapidly fell off in terms of, like, people liking it. Look at the numbers Forza Horizon 5 put up in players. We're talking tens of millions within, like, month or two. Starfield's going to put up absolutely bonkers numbers for player numbers if it's good. Again, this all keeps coming back to good. Now, sales is a whole different question. This sounds weird. I don't even really look at Xbox sales anymore. It doesn't really matter for the system that they have set up. For the system they have set up, there's no debate. Game Pass is cannibalizing huge chunks of software sales for their first party. So to me, like, sales is more of an afterthought nowadays. I don't know how it's going to sell, but Steam it'll sell huge, but console, I don't know if it's going to sell that much. But player numbers should be bonkers. Portal Player, how bad is the 13% decrease in console sales? Well, it's definitely not great. Anytime you're hitting double-digit declines this early in the cycle, and this is not the first time we've seen their hardware declining, it is definitely not good. And I think a huge thing can be explained here on there's no first-party software to drive the console sales at the moment. So I would say it's bad. I would say it's not the end of the world. Here's what I will say, Portal Player. If you see another double-digit decrease next quarter despite Starfield, if it's good, I would start to be pretty worried. Yeah, I'd start to be pretty concerned, to be honest with you. At that point, I would be like, yeah, we're in concern territory. Right now, it's not great, but I'm not panicked about Xbox hardware sales because, again, where's the big exclusive this quarter? There isn't one. that's good, right? There's Redfall, but we all know what happened with Redfall. If we hit Starfield quarter and you're still seeing huge declines on hardware, let's say this game gets high 80s or 90s Metacritic and you still see huge hardware declines, then yeah, we're in concern territory. We're in, okay, what's going on here? Michael Yu, do you know if Circana tracks Bethesda's digital titles? Also, if you had to guess Starfield breakdown between Steam/Game Pass PC players, what would you guess? I'd say 90% Steam, 10% PC Game Pass. I think that's bullish. I would go closer, honestly, closer to 50-50. We have a lot of evidence that a lot of it has shifted, but I wouldn't go full on 50-50. So first of all, do I know if Circana tracks Bethesda digital? I believe they do now. They did not track Bethesda digital, from what I understand, and I could be wrong here, but from what I understand, once Microsoft acquired Bethesda, that Circana did start tracking digital, but I don't know that for sure. So I want to be really upfront about that. I don't know that for sure, but I thought I saw somewhere that Bethesda after acquisition is now included with Circana digital, but I don't know for sure. I want to be very, very cautious on that, but I think I did see that somewhere. Now, in terms of PC, Steam to Game Pass, I definitely don't think it's going to be 90 to 10. I think PC Game Pass has grown a lot more than people realize, and the main way I think so is because every single PC game that launches on Game Pass day one on PC has terrible Steam numbers. That should be a big indication for you that a lot of people are playing these games through Game Pass. It's like universal. I don't know that there has been a PC day one launch Game Pass game that recently, right? Once we really saw PC Game Pass growth, like we'll say in the last year or so, I don't know that there's been an example of a game that launched day one and just had like incredible Steam numbers. They're almost universally low. A prime example for this was just Exoprimal. Exoprimal, where people were pointing out how low the Steam numbers were, and they're terrible. And the total player count isn't mind-blowing. It's 1 million players. But if you looked at that Steam player count, there's no way in hell you would think that game did 1 million players. And I know it's multi-platform, but even still, if you looked at that and if you looked at what you're seeing on PlayStation performance, there's no way in hell you would think that thing did 1 million players in a few days. And it did. That means a lot of people are accessing this through Game Pass. So, again, I'm not going to go crazy. I still think there's probably a good chance that more people play Starfield on Steam than Game Pass. I would not go 90-10. This is a guess because we don't know their PC subscriber count. 60-40, maybe 65-35, maybe 70-30, but I definitely wouldn't go 90-10. All right, we're going for just a couple of minutes and I got to go because I got to go to work today. So actually, I'm like out of time. So let me just make sure every channel member got at least one question answered. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats. And then I got to go. Joseki, I hate when they do exclusive pre-orders. I have nightmares of the pre-order insanity for the Xenoblade 3 limited edition. Yeah, it sucks. I'm never a fan of just stuffing stuff into one retailer, especially whenever it's one owned by the company. I don't like that, but they're continuing to do it, especially Sony. Sony seems to be going very aggressive on PlayStation Direct. Another great point by Joseki. Just wait for Dragon Quest 12 to finally have a simultaneous worldwide launch for the series and see how there is a big market for AAA turn-based games. I agree. Dragon Quest 12 should be massive. J2 Blue in the Sky, do you think it's possible for Sony to go back and remake any of their 6th gen first-party games like Sly Cooper or Jak and Daxter? I would love to see it. I don't know. They've hinted that they're going to do more remakes and remasters. Sly Cooper and Jak, though, I don't see it being those two, but maybe. Maybe. Just looking. Any more channel member or super chats? We do. Straight Shot with a 2 super chat. One more. LOL. Why are there no MOBAs on console? I just think that no one's been able to figure out how to make them work well and perform well with a lot of sales. I am continuously confused why Riot does not support console at all, really. Like, why is Valorant not on console? I feel like Valorant would be huge on console, if I'm being honest with you. And I know that's not a MOBA, but, you know, they also make, you know, one of the biggest MOBAs in the world, which is also not on console. Riot's aversion to console in general is bizarre to me. Because Overwatch is huge on console. Like, and Valorant is somewhat similar to Overwatch. I know that there are differences, but a lot of Overwatch pros play Valorant. Like, a lot of the ones that left the Overwatch League went and became Valorant pros. There's a lot of synergy between those titles, and Overwatch, even in decline with Overwatch 2 right now, we talked about this on the last chat, there's more people playing Overwatch 2 right now on Xbox than there is Destiny 2. And everyone always talks about how Destiny is this massive game, and it is. Let me make sure that that's still the case. But last I checked, again, there's more people playing Overwatch 2 right now on Xbox than there is people playing Destiny. Yes, there's more people playing Overwatch 2 right now than MLB The Show 23, than people playing Destiny, than people playing Red Dead Redemption 2, than people playing Madden 23. Like, Overwatch isn't a, like, abandoned game that no one plays. Why the heck is Valorant not on console? It is confusing. Riot's just throwing money away by having Valorant not on console, in my opinion. And MOBAs in general, why is League not on console? Why is Dota not on console? Well, Dota you can probably pretty much explain because Valve just doesn't support console right now. Maybe that changes at some point, but as of now, Valve just doesn't really do anything on console, so that explains Dota. Why League isn't? I don't know. I think it's a big mistake not having some sort of console version, but they just have decided to not do it. But I don't know. Couldn't answer you. Perfect Shogun comes in right at the end and says, "Oh, I'm super late. Oh, well, hey, guys, who's picking up that Nicki Minaj skin in Call of Duty? Is this real? There's a Nicki Minaj Call of Duty skin. Bro, did I miss this? This is too funny. I'm supposed to be leaving this chat, but I have to see this if this is real. That is... Ain't no way. Is this real? You guys gotta let me know in chat if this is real. That is... Dude, it is real. That is so random, dude. That is funny. I'll be honest, they're going to sell a lot of them. I guarantee you. I guarantee you they sell a ton of them just for the, like, even people that aren't Nicki Minaj fans, there are going to be people that buy that skin just for the irony of it because it's so randomly hilarious that Nicki Minaj is in a Call of Duty game. I am telling you right now, they're going to sell a ton of those. I'm not going to buy it. They will sell a lot just for the sheer absurdness of Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty. Yeah, that's going to sell a lot. There's no doubt. And then Split'End says, as we end the chat, Split'End says there are rumors Valorant is actually in the works for console. It should be. That is just, I've been saying for a long time, it is utterly bizarre to me that Valorant is not on console. I'm telling you, they would make tons of money on it. Blizzard makes a ton of money from Overwatch being on consoles. It's strange. It is a strange choice to not have Valorant on there. I don't get it. I couldn't tell you why. Okay, guys, I'm going to bounce there. I have got to go. I think every channel member got at least one question answered. I don't think I missed anyone. I hit every single super chat. Thanks as always for all of the support, guys. I've got to bounce. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We do one of these chats every single week. Like the video if you want to. Helps the YouTube algorithm. As always, thanks for all of the support. Shout out to Highlander for gifting 5 memberships in the chat and supporting the community. Thank you guys for always being so kind and supportive of everything I do, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, etc., etc. And as always, everyone, stay safe. Play some games, and I will catch you guys either here on YouTube next week, or I will see you on Twitter later today. All right, everyone. Bye. Have a good day, good night, whatever, wherever you are. Have an awesome time. Love you. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.